Let's start with a harsh truth from EPC projects. You can design the perfect shell thickness and still fail the design review because of one nozzle. Why? Because nozzles are not just connections. The moment we cut a hole in the shell, we remove strength, and ASME expects us to restore correctly. So in this episode, we'll build a job-ready nozzle schedule, understand nozzle orientation and rating, and start the most important concept, reinforcement. If you master this, you're no longer a beginner, you're thinking like a mechanical designer. In Episode 3, we finalize shell and head thickness for internal pressure. In Episode 4, we confirm vacuum stability and understood stiffening rings. Now we are ready for the next step. Because only after thickness is locked, we can define openings confidently, otherwise every nozzle detail will keep changing. Here's why nozzles are critical. They impact structural strength, welding complexity, inspection requirements, piping loads, and maintenance access. So when you plan nozzles properly, you save fabrication time, avoid clashes, and pass mechanical review smoothly. A nozzle is not just a hole. It includes the opening, the neck pipe, the end connection, and the weld details. And if reinforcement is required, we add metal around the opening by using shell excess thickness, nozzle neck thickness, or a pad. In EPC, nozzle schedule is non-negotiable. This table drives a GA drawing, piping hookups, welding map, NDE plan, and MTO. So our goal is to make a nozzle schedule that is clear, consistent, and fabrication ready. Tagging must be systematic. When you tag nozzles, think about drawings, fabrication, and field. If GA shows N3 as drain but schedule shows N3 as vent, the site team will suffer. So always keep nozzle tag consistent across all documents. Still with me? Perfect, because now we'll cover nozzle placement. This is where most beginners place a nozzle that looks okay on drawing, but destroys separation performance. Before deciding sizes, first list nozzles by function. Every nozzle must have a reason. This prevents unnecessary openings and reduces fabrication complexity. Also, it ensures you never forget safety nozzles like PSV, vents, and drains. In separators, nozzle placement directly affects separation quality. Inlet is placed near one end where inlet device is located. Gas outlet should be at top where gas is stable and dry. Liquid outlets must be in correct liquid zones. Vent and drain must be at true high and true low points. This is how you design nozzles with process logic. Now we define nozzle orientation, and this is where many drawings go wrong. In EPC work, we don't say nozzle on top or nozzle on side. We define it like a compass using the clock method. Imagine you are looking at the vessel cross-section from the front. 12 o'clock is the top center, 3 o'clock is the right, 6 o'clock is the bottom, and 9 o'clock is the left. So when I write N2 at 12 o'clock, the fabricator instantly knows the nozzle must be exactly on the crown line. But orientation alone is not enough. We also freeze the location along the length. So we always specify two things together: clock position and distance from a reference, usually the head tangent line or a fixed datum on the GA. Example, N1 inlet, 3 o'clock, 450 millimeters from the front head tangent line. This single line removes all confusion between design, fabrication, and piping. And one more professional tip: always decide whether your reference is measured from inside tangent line or outside, and keep it consistent across the whole drawing set. Now we reach a very important question: who decides nozzle size? Beginners often think mechanical decides it, because nozzle is part of the vessel. But in real EPC, nozzle size is a coordination output. It comes from process, piping, and mechanical working together. Let's break it down clearly. First, process drives the size based on flow rate and allowable velocity. For example, if a gas outlet nozzle is too small, gas velocity increases, which can cause liquid carryover and upset your separator performance. If a liquid outlet nozzle is too small, you create high velocity, erosion, and control valve instability. Second, piping confirms the size using hydraulics, line sizing, and project piping class. Piping will check pressure drop, control valve requirements, and the line routing feasibility. Many times, nozzle size is aligned with line size to reduce reducers and simplify fabrication. Third, Mechanical validates the size from the vessel side. Mechanical checks. Is the opening too large for the shell thickness? Will reinforcement become heavy or require a pad? Is there enough space around the nozzle for welding, NDE, and flange bolting? Will the nozzle be subject to high piping loads later? Now here's the job-ready rule. We don't select nozzle size by emotion like, let's keep it 6-inch to be safe. Oversizing can also be harmful because bigger openings remove more shell area, increase reinforcement, increase costs, and create layout clashes. So the correct approach is process proposes, piping confirms, mechanical finalizes in nozzle schedule. That's how you produce a nozzle schedule that passes review and works at site. Now we come to flange rating, also called ANSI class. This is a very important topic because a common beginner mistake is selecting flange class based only on pressure without checking temperature, and that leads to serious mismatches in piping and procurement. Let's make this job ready and clear. First, understand what the class actually means. Class 150, 300, 600, 900, 1500, 2500 do not mean the flange can always take 150 psi or 300 psi. The actual allowable pressure depends on temperature and material group. So as temperature increases, the allowable pressure for the same class generally decreases. This is why we always say, flange class is a function of design pressure and design temperature. Second, where do we select it from? In most projects, flange class selection follows the piping specifications based on ASME B 16.5 for standard flanges and ASME B 16.47 for large diameter flanges. So we don't invent a class. We confirm it based on the project piping class, then ensure it meets design conditions. Third, how does the workflow look in EPC? Process gives you design pressure and temperature. Piping gives you the piping class that corresponds to those conditions. Mechanical then ensures your vessel nozzle flange rating matches that same piping class, so that lineup is possible without special transitions. Now here's a practical example conceptually. If you have moderate pressure and moderate temperature, class 300 might be enough. But if temperature is high, the allowable pressure for class 300 drops, and you may need class 600, even if pressure looks unchanged. That's why temperature cannot be ignored. Also, remember, nozzle rating is not only about pressure. Some nozzles, like PSV connections, blowdown, and critical services, may follow more conservative project practices because safety and leakage risks are higher. Finally, one discipline that makes you job ready. Always write the rating in nozzle schedule clearly as size times class times facing. Example, 6-inch, class 600, IF. This single line helps procurement, piping, and fabrication align instantly. So the key message of slide 11 is simple. Select class using design pressure plus design temperature as per B 16.5 B 16.47 and project piping specs. Never by guess.